All right, I'm going to do a video on how we survived that Arctic blast that everybody was getting all across the United States in the southern areas and all. Everybody's, getting unseasonably cold temperatures. And we had about 3 weeks of it. And it got down to -2 for a low. And then it was ranging from that -2 up to about 12 degrees for our lows for like 3 weeks or so, and just consecutively for 3 weeks it'd warm up to like 35 to 37 degrees, something like that during the day, and the days were short, cloudy. So our home is unfinished. It's uninsulated, and we're off grid, so we don't really, not much electrical power at all. We have a real small system that wouldn't even work most of the time because the temperatures were just too cold. So we have an insulated area we're living in. That's like 560 square feet. So we were able to heat that with our buddy heater, and very little, but we did get some use out of the pellet stove. But since that requires power and we had very little power, we couldn't use that very much, maybe an hour or two a day. So that didn't work out too well. And then we got the animals, in their water buckets. They're not they don't have warmers or anything on it. We're off grid, so that requires power and all that. So every morning you got to dump the big ice block out and then give them fresh water, and then the sun or just the warmth of the day would keep it from freezing right back up. So we got to keep the animals all hydrated. So I mean, we had some issues to deal with. The main one was our water lines in the house, keeping them from freezing since it's all uninsulated. Where we have our showers, it's uninsulated. So we had to drain all those water lines within the house, and otherwise they're going to freeze and you're going to break valves and break all kinds of stuff, and it's going to get real expensive and cost you a lot of time too to fix everything. So this is just a video to show you how we did it, and it'd be cool to see other people's videos too on the problems they had and how they had to deal with this. And temperatures are warmer now, and it's way easier. It's no problem anymore. This is our buddy heater that we had to use. It would keep our temps anywhere from the mid 40s to the upper 50s at night to keep us warm. We've got our hot water tank and all the water lines and everything out here in the garage. We're draining all these, not the hot water heater, but we're draining all these lines at night when it's getting down this cold. This morning it's 7 degrees so far, and it might get a little colder. So we've been getting down, anywhere from like 8 degrees to 12 degrees lately. So there's a manifold where I can drain the water into the buckets. And then I'm using this little kerosene heater in the morning. I wake up, turn that on, try to keep any kind of water in that pressure tank right there, and the hot water heater, trying to keep that from freezing. I've got the hot water heater running off of that 7-gallon propane tank right there. We usually get right around a little over 3 weeks with that tank, but we turn it off after we get out of the shower, and we turn it on about 15, 20 minutes, probably about 20 minutes before we hop in the shower. It doesn't take that long to heat it up. There's a little switch right there where we can turn it on and off. We just leave the valve on that tank open. We got one with the little meter on the side to tell us how much fuel we got in there. Open the valves on the shower at night you know, when we're draining the tanks, you open that valve so you drain all the water out of the lines. Yeah, so when it gets down real cold, I'm just shutting this valve off. This is where the water comes in from the tank out there. Big old tank out here. Right there. So I'll just shut this valve off and then open this valve, and that drains down the hose into that bucket right there, and that'll drain the whole house, the water out of the whole house. As long as I open up the valves in the showers and in the sink in there, all the water will run out. And I'm not sure how much will run out of that pressure tank there. It's got a water bladder in it, and see how it would have to go uphill. So that thing's still got water in it. And that's why I'm running that kerosene heater to kind of keep that from freezing solid. And then also you got those two canisters. And see, you'd have to turn this thing upside down or unscrew it and drain all the water out, because that'll freeze up too. So still got some stuff in here where the water could get down in there and freeze. So yeah, and this stuff here, I'm not sure exactly how much that expansion tank and that kind of thing, you know, if water's, I'm sure there's some into that. And you gotta make darn sure, you know, you keep it pretty warm in here so you don't freeze stuff up and break it, you know, because this will crack for sure. And that could blow out and bust. And yeah, this little manifold, that could break. There's a lot of damage that could be done if you let your these lines freeze up and all. And this is an uninsulated garage right now. So next year I'm going to do something a little different, but we're trying to make it through this winter. And over here, these lines could freeze up in here real easily. So the way I got this thing is insulated, as you can see. And it's got these thick walls right here that are full of dirt. And then concrete up on the top. And then I got it all sealed up under here. And got that foam up against the tank. So it gets heat from the ground and from the tank. And also, I put like moving blankets and stuff over this. 2 or 3 layers thick of blankets over the top of all this when it was getting real cold. And then as soon as the cold snap broke, I took that out so it could breathe better and wouldn't get all wet in there. There's enough water in that tank where it's not going to freeze solid. It'd take a long span of really cold weather to freeze that thing up. And then the lines go underground all the way over to the house, so you don't have to worry about that. We were getting some heat from our pellet stove here, but the problem is it takes electricity to run the little fan and the auger and all in there, and our batteries will stop accepting a charge when it gets down below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And so when the sun comes up and tries to charge it and all that, it won't accept a charge, so the batteries never would get up to full capacity. And so we'd only get to run this thing about, I don't know, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. So it just didn't really help all that much, you know. So we were really relying on that little buddy heater to help us stay warm in here. And yeah, and then by the afternoon, the batteries would warm up enough to accept a charge, and we'd get just enough charge to do it all over again, you know, and get just a couple of hours of heat from our pellet stove. As the temperatures warm up, then that we don't have that problem, because there's a battery monitoring system inside the battery that protects it from cold and heat. And you don't want to be charging or trying to charge your battery when it's real cold, because it can damage the battery. And that's why they have that automatic shut off in there, so that the battery you can't hardly damage the thing even if you try. So it's good that they do that, because those batteries should last around 15 years or so. So, you know, as long as they're protected that way, they'll keep lasting. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to keep our batteries warm during the next winter. You know, we just got to make it through this winter. We'll do things a lot different next winter.